experience in dealing with these kinds of situations.
Great. Richard, it's been a while since you've been on a public company board, but it's been a while since you've been CEO of a public company. I'd just love any perspectives you want to share on, from the CEO's point of view, and how you'll be as a director.
Yeah, I've been on boards where they were rubber stamp type boards, and I've been on boards where the board has been very active for larger decisions. And it has seemed to me that the quality of decisions made has benefited enormously where the board has been very actively involved. And I've been primarily in companies that have come out of a LBO or private equity or venture capital context where the board has a very vested interest. Their knowledge about the business is immense, and the benefit of the discussions is also immense.
Okay, I guess another question. Go ahead.
Just a quick one. Besides Bill, does anybody else, any of the other candidates, own shares in Target, or do you plan to buy shares?
I plan on buying shares.
If I'm elected, I'll buy shares. If I'm not elected, I don't think so.
He's got to short at the stock if he's not elected.
I've got a substantial portion of my net worth in the fund family whose boards I chair. I believe in having a stake in on the companies whose boards I sit on.
Richard, you're
Same thing. I wouldn't plan on joining any board where I didn't want to take an ownership stake.
All right, so the last question for you guys is how you can help. I guess there's another question from the audience, but we're actually the underdogs here. There's a huge disadvantage, being the dissident. There were some analysts who put out reports that they should, vote for management without even meeting our candidates, without even understanding what the proxy contest is about. Don't mean to pick on any particular analyst, but I just think there is an instinctual reaction when you have a company that's a great company. Well, let's vote for management. I'm in favor of voting for management, but the decision to vote in favor of this slate of directors or the incumbent slate of directors has nothing to do with management. It has to do with which people do you want to serve you on the board. So it really matters which way you vote. If you like what you've heard, you can help us by publicly supporting us. You can help us privately by talking to the proxy advisory services firms that you do business with. You can even help us by putting in a call to Target and saying, you know what, this seems like a sensible group of people. I like some of them, not all of them. I want the opportunity to pick and choose. Make it easier for us. Let them put your candidates on their card so I can pick among them. So there are lots of different ways you can help other than by voting your shares. But sharing your views publicly is obviously very, very helpful. Yes, the question in the front.
I heard you allude to hypothetical dialogues between the board and management if one or all of you are elected to the board. What kind of interaction would you like to have with management, or would your primary interactions be with other board members at Target?
I would be available to management. That's been my practice in the past. You respect them, but if they call, then you need to answer that. Other than that, it's all in the boardroom type of activities.
Let me answer a question that hasn't been asked. When I ask people after meeting our slate, what's the downside of electing new nominees versus the incumbent nominees? People say, well, the only thing I can think of is, now that you've had this proxy contest, will it be disruptive in the boardroom? And I think that's an important question. And I think you can assess for yourself, number one, the company's been very careful not to attack any of our nominees. And I think they've been careful about that because they realize that these nominees may be on the board at some point in the future and that they want to have a successful dialogue. The company has attacked me only for being Bill Ackman. I'm happy to be Bill Ackman. They've used my name many times. I think in that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, they encourage you to say your name many, many times. So if anything, I've been ingratiated. It's been wonderful to see my name so many times in their letters. But seriously, my personal style is not, I pick on Carl Icahn because he deserves to be picked on, but I'm not Carl Icahn, okay? And that we've had very constructive relationships, not just with Target, but you can talk to, look, Borders is a situation where we were a passive investor. The company got into trouble. They asked us to join the board. One of our members of the investment team joined the board. Ultimately, the board decided the right decision was to make a change in management. I I encourage people to call the former CEO of Borders, who ultimately was replaced by someone that we had recommended, to ask him how we handled a difficult situation, including one in which it led to his losing his job. And I think what you'll hear is that we are a very constructive, supportive investor in good times and in bad times. And I think that's the kind of person that you want to have on your board of directors. But by no means do you have to vote for me. If you find something offensive about hedge funds, if you find something offensive about derivatives, even though management owns them, okay, you don't have to vote for me. But don't deny Target the opportunity to have the talent to my left. That's one. Second, I would say this is a very important proxy contest because it's unusual. This is not a platform to sell Yahoo to Microsoft. This is not a platform for a real estate transaction. I think you'll have some sense of that. But this is a proxy contest about who are the best people to serve on this board. It's very rare that a shareholder is willing to spend the money required to improve a board of directors. We think it's worth the effort because we think getting this group on the board, we're going to have a more profitable company. The company's going to make some better strategic decisions. But also I think it sends a message to corporate America generally that they can't just constantly re-elect themselves. They've got to think about who the best people, when some guy's been on the board for 15 years, no one on the board wants to kick him off because they're all friends. It's a bit uncouth to kick off a guy who's been on for 15 years. But do we really need a director for another 3 years instead of a Jim Donald or Richard Vague, a Michael Ashner or a Ron Gilson, when the person's been there for 15 years or 10 years, unless there's something very specific that they're bringing to the table? So I think this is an important proxy contest. We want you to vote the gold card. If you have any questions for us beyond this, I think it's only fair to let people eat lunch and shop at Target. There you go. Thank you.